Welcome to Creative Courage Chats, a search for a new understanding of creativity and problem solving. I'm Alex Raffi. Because I'm here with Rashelle Roberts. She's a creativity coach, which I'm going to have her explain a little further about what that is. But it sounds fantastic. And I've known her for a long time, and I've been following her, and she is definitely a champion of creativity. And we're going to just learn all about some of her methods and the importance of this thing. So this is right in my ballpark, so I'm very excited. So hi, welcome. Thanks for being part of the show. I appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
So tell us a little bit about what you do and where did it come from?
Well, through high school, I come from let me see if I could say that word. Yeah. Parents. And the moment I could have a job, I had a job at State Farm. Yeah. And I loved working with people. And so went through school, so on. And I started a graphic design business with my cousin. And I was the marketing and business end of it. And at a certain point, I realized I had a gift of understanding that the uber creative designer artist works so hard at what they're doing, they don't always know how to do the more business end of it. Mm-hmm. And so I transitioned from a partnership in a design firm into making up this name called, I'm a creative business coach. And that was in 97. And I was in my earlier 20s. And I purely made it up. I took all these courses on coaching and self-development, and then I took the artist way, and it changed everything. And I found this passion of being an artist myself, as well as seeing business all my life with both my grandparents and my parents. I had this ability to see how to merge those two worlds in a way that really uplifted and had I really focused on designers the first many years of my career. And the next thing I knew, I was coaching all these design firms up and down, especially the West Coast, because at the time I was born and raised here in Las Vegas, but I left for 11 years to Southern California and then came back. And that's where my business really grew. So I made up this thing called Creative Business Coach, and I got traction. Like, people really got it. And I was helping people take their businesses from like, okay, to like, holy crap.
Yeah.
Really, really rocking. And then How Design Conference noticed me, and I started speaking, and then AIGA. Hope everybody's familiar with that. AIGA, I got on the board, and then I created these monthly roundtables, and then they kept going for like 6 years. And I never put myself in a box, but what I knew for sure is that I had this ability to be eyes on the outside looking in, and I could understand that the creative had this vision, and I could understand what was missing. And I continuously helped them bridge that gap. And sometimes it was clearing out I always started with what I called a toleration list of things that we're putting up with that we need to kind of check off.
We've been toleration. Right, that's good.
Right. Yeah. Like, we keep putting it on the shelf when we know it needs attention, but we don't deal with it. Right. So I start helping people kind of eliminate the back of the mind chatter, to maybe having some level of a business plan, to how to market themselves, how to speak, how to ask for the contracts they wanted. So I was like the silent partner.
Yeah.
But it was also called coach, and nobody knew what coach was, and now everybody's a coach. So, I don't know.
Well, yeah, because that's the thing is, you can't really be an effective creative without an ego, right? But still, you need an ego, but a lot of times it's internally. Your ego-ness is internal when you're an artist, and you don't like talking about your work. You don't like bragging.
Oh my gosh!
But internally, you're like, I know I'm good. I'm really
right.
And that's the problem, because in business, humility doesn't help anybody.
No,
humility is boring. Nobody can.
Right.
If you're not able to talk about your business, I always say that in marketing. You go, people that are humble, that's nice and everything, but being humble never built anything.
Right.
You got to go out, put yourself out there, and make something happen. And I like the idea that, because you're right. Because I mean, people that are in creative fields, they're so focused on the work that a lot of times that's just a secondary piece of it, when it actually needs just as much attention. I kind of
Right.
think of it as like the left and right brain, because I talk about how you can have a great idea, right? And that comes from your right brain, and then your left brain is the technical side that executes the idea. So
Mm-hmm.
it's a really good idea poorly executed is kind of a crappy idea.
Mm-hmm.
So it really doesn't matter. And these people, if you have this great thing you're trying to sell, but you're doing a terrible job selling it, or you're trying to make to sell and doing, you're failing in every way, and you kind of have to meld the two. And the nice thing is the creatives are good problem solvers, and once they know the tools and how to do it, they're actually pretty good at it. I'm sure once you get them going, I'll bet some of them really kick in, right?
You just nailed it. That's right there.
Mm-hmm.
It's like once they get they have the permission
Mm-hmm.
to, I can also actually not only just the permission, but the language.
Mm-hmm.
I'm a communicator for sure. Like that's,
Mm-hmm.
I'm a Gemini, and I can talk, right?
Yeah, I don't know what that means, but okay.
That's it.
Yeah.
I was born in June. That's all.
Yeah, okay.
But also is they get a level of permission or language. They learn how do I even talk about myself? What do I say? What's okay? What's not okay? And to have somebody who's totally on your side and wants you to win and is going to be really straight with you is a game changer. And it's safe, and to be able to learn how to talk about yourself or your work or what it is that you want or how you can help a client and really own it, or go from I'm just an order taker to a true partner. That is a game changer. It really is.
It's really interesting that courage isn't holistic, like we'll have courage in some ways.
Mm-hmm.
In other ways, we're horrified and terrified, which is fine. And I get it. I call the thing creative courage because I'm always kind of thinking in terms of that. And I've come to this point, I've probably developed in the last 10 years just from doing what I do, from being a creative director at a marketing firm, and because you never know when ideas are going to come. And I'm always entertained by watching the evolution of an idea, where you throw out an idea and it seems like it's not so great. And then you go through all the other ideas and then you go, wait a minute, that idea wasn't bad. Let's develop on that idea. And all of a sudden it turns into something terrific.
Right.
And it happened with the library district. We were working with the library district. And the very first idea we had was literally the place to be, the library. And it was the very first one. And it was like, that's lame, man. So we just wrote it in the corner in the bottom of the board. And then we went to an hour and a half brainstorming. And we stopped and we went
back at it.
And then that stuck with the district for about a dozen years. They actually still probably use it somewhere, but it turns into a thing. It's funny how we tend to our fear of, for whatever reason, and the fact that I understand business is kind of scary because you're dealing with people that are in a different mindset.
Yeah.
And it's interesting. So okay. So you're dealing. What is it you found is like the most difficult thing when dealing with a creative in terms of getting them? What's the biggest threshold to get through with them?
What do you mean? Like a mental block, or
because like I said, I'm curious. I was forced because I've always been a creative and I own a business.
Right.
I was forced to just do, and even now it's like I'm not the best business guy. Luckily, my partner is a great one, and so we work really well as far as together.
Sure.
I definitely have a clue of what I'm doing, but I wouldn't never think of myself as somebody who thinks like that.
Sure. Okay, so I think there's a couple, and I think one of the biggest is imposter, like the imposter syndrome of can I really be this good, or or what if people find out I can't even tell you, some of the best designers I know didn't go to school, and they think, well, once they did well, and they still have this idea that they still need to go back and get their degree in design. I'm like, what are you talking about? You know,
That's me.
my point, my freaking point. Okay. This is my point.
Yeah.
Is truly some of the very best designers I know do not have a design degree. And yeah, so there's that. But also is there this idea that they're not good business people. And you said this just a bit ago, of like, they're problem solvers.
Mm-hmm.
And so once they kind of get that they don't have to be the business person like the friggin' accountant or whoever, the dentist, that's very kind of more linear, I guess. They don't have to be that. Then it gives them permission to be good. I'm telling you, some of the best business people I know are designers because of their problem solving skills.
Right.
It's design thinking, right?
And their ability to talk about their work is also tricky. Some people.
Oh, that's the other one.
Yeah. Oh, sorry.
Yeah, that's the other one.
Go ahead. Yeah. Well, yeah. For me, it's always a discussion with artists is that they struggle with because this lame thing. Well, it's not lame. Okay, I can say it's lame because I'll just probably piss off a lot of people I know that are artists. But they don't want to have to explain their work. They want you to interpret their work.
They want people to get it.
But that doesn't help you when you're trying to sell your work.
Totally.
It's like
it'll speak for itself.
Yeah. It's like, no, you need to, you see, and this is why I came up with this idea of
sorry, my hair's bugging me and it's
no worries. But I came up with this recently, I think it was in the last few months, where this concept of a match, where your artwork, when you create it, no matter what it is, it could be even any work. All that is the smoke after a burnt, you blow out a match. It's the residue of something more important. It's the aftermath of a flame. Talk about the flame. Talk about what created the work. Don't just talk about the work. Talk about what got you to the work. And that's sometimes the way I like for them, instead of them talking about the work, because that's the problem.
I agree.
You talk about what got you to where you are. And that's what people are curious about. I think when people go to a gallery, or at least this is how I go to a gallery, and I think a lot of people might feel this way. I don't know, it might be wrong. When I see a piece of artwork on a wall in a gallery, the thing I imagine, I try to interpret the painting, sure, but what I'm really thinking of is, God, I wonder who it was that made this. I wonder what led to the person. And then I form this idea of who they are in my head. Mm-hmm. And then I go to their next piece, and then I carry that person I created, even if it's fake, even if it's all my idea, that person becomes attach them to all the other work. I don't know. That's abstract and really kind of weird. It works for me.
I get that.
In terms of talking about the work. And I think that's an interesting way to kind of go about it, because you have abstract thinkers. And,
totally.
And it's hard for them to wrap their heads around numbers sometimes and those kinds of things.
Totally. But, and kind of a little bit before is just, I think that not being able to talk about your work often, that kind of stuck with me was, and it could be as a fine artist, or it could be even as a designer, that it's often so personal that it's comes from within. But here's the thing, you brought up a great point, was that, what got them to that solution, what got them to that. And that's where I think so many design professionals can make a mistake, where they got to talk about their work. But really the people in front of them, they want to see work that is beautiful, and that's so-called effective, I guess. But ultimately they want to feel understood. They want to feel like that person, that designer in front of them is going to bring out that vision that they have for this business idea or project or whatever it may be in front of them. And that's what I think needs more attention than anything is, are you listening to me? Does the client really feel heard? Does the client feel like you're getting their vision? Because a designer can kind of have a certain style or a certain whatever, but when they're in the client's world, then they're creating genuinely and solving for them genuinely, that client feels totally gotten and understood.
Mhm.
And that's what I think transforms
That's
that relationship.
That is so hugely important. That's like the key to everything.
It
And
is.
you won't succeed in your own business unless you get that.
Right.
So,
Right.
so I feel like we're gonna have a few of these. That's my rewind moment now. If you're an
Okay.
artist,
Yeah.
just go back and hear what you just said again. Just listen to what she just said,
Oh,
because
right.
I
Seriously?
think
Yeah.
that is a very important thing to consider, and I think it's one of the harder things for people to consider sometimes. It's the difficult thing when you're talking. You see, I've seen a lot of portfolios, and I've hired a lot of
Yeah.
artists, and there's this thing about them that they first of all, their portfolios, like, okay, I'm not going to criticize art degrees or design degrees or anything, uh, except that it's
What?
frustrating to me sometimes that they don't talk about what you're talking about. I think
Right.
what you do should be part of the curriculum.
Y-
I think that that's a huge problem.
I've actually been approached so many times at different colleges, San Diego, I've colleges coming to me about the same thing, about you. We need you in this mix because nobody's addressing this.
It's
I
the
mean,
most important thing,
it
to be
is.
honest, because
It is.
yeah, sure, the art comes easy to them.
Yeah.
And so it's not
Yeah.
the most important thing. The most important
Right.
thing is the thing that you're weakest at and the thing that you're worst at to work on. And that's it.
Because
And
there's skill, and then there's also, we're human beings. We have to work with our heads. We
right.
have to work with all this inner dialogue. And if we don't understand it, of how we become successful in general, of like, what does that mean? What is that? There's a mental kind of piece that has to be addressed and has to be embraced.
I like talking, and I've said this already. I feel like I repeat myself on this thing, but I got to say it again because it keeps coming up. Is I like using Michelangelo as a frame of reference for designers, for graphic designers especially. Is
Okay.
because there's fine art and then there's commercial art, right? And there's
Yeah.
always like, oh, you're in this world, in this world. I think they meld quite easily,
Oh
very
yeah.
very closely together, because the fine artist still has to sell their work. The
Mhm.
commercial artist is also selling a very specific work that they're asked to do. So their skills are for rent, right? So they're doing this. Michelangelo would fall. You would think he was in the fine artist, but he was a commercial artist for the church, because the church, the Pope, hired him to interpret the stories in the Bible for everyone that couldn't read. And so when you go to these churches, you're seeing they're billboards for the Bible. These stories that you're seeing are the stories within the Bible that the Pope told them to do. So all of these illustrations were commissioned. He was living off of, he was getting paid. The Sistine Chapel, it's an unbelievable piece of art. It's just a giant billboard for the Bible. It's just a giant billboard for the church. I mean,
I love that. I've never thought of it that way,
no,
but I'll
it
tell
is.
you, I love that. It's because it's a great point. Right.
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 And
Okay,
it's
but it also goes back to our whole world. That's the power of design and art. Is like, if there's any one piece that I want people to get, that I say, it's that design creatives that that are producing work that's seen. It is the most powerful tool on the planet.
right. Mm-hmm.
Let me say that again. It's the most powerful tool on the planet. Everything is designed.
Mm-hmm.
Everything is.
Everything. And the creativity, there's nothing more important as far as I'm concerned. It's my religion.
Right. I'm so with you.
There's nothing that it doesn't touch. There's nothing that it doesn't affect.
Right.
Everything we do. Doctors that are working on a patient, they're working on a heart, and all of a sudden something else goes wrong. All of a sudden they have to fire off, and they have to use their creativity to figure out how to solve this particular problem on the fly. There is no difference between that doctor with a scalpel working inside of a human body than a musician or someone writing a sonnet and trying to kind of interpret something that they're doing. We're all things are firing off in our head constantly. It's the same tools that you use to invent a cure for COVID is the same tools that are going off to decide what you're going to put on and that morning to go to this thing between this squishy gray thing between our ears is an amazing thing, and nobody gives it the respect it deserves.
Oh
And
my gosh. So well said.
it's crazy. It's crazy to me sometimes that it's as if we're carrying a superhero with us.
Oh my gosh.
And we don't really we don't use them for anything.
This is why I wanted to talk to you, honestly, right here. Right here is because this is what gets me. I have a son that is a senior in high school and a daughter that is in college. Okay. And the thing that has gotten me the most in being a parent, so I had my business before I had kids. Mm-hmm. And so is watching the system not take creativity. They take it as like this, oh, it's extra. Oh, it's, oh, well, I had my son in a particular school, and I had to like push the whole time these last few years. And honestly, I took him out, and now he's, going full online, which he isn't right now. But my point is, where are we addressing the tune-in of the creative self? Mm-hmm. It's like, it's not just, yes, I get that some people have maybe a technical skill of drawing, and they develop that, or they have a gift of, I get it. There's different levels of, we'll just say creativity. Okay. But we all have that superpower. And if we're not taught, and I think it's a lifeline for many kids, it is like they discover something about themselves that could change the absolute course of their life, give them hope when they felt like they had none, or they felt like they had to, have a certain job, but they had many more options. So, and the problem solving skills. Look at our kids today. Look at the challenges that they're facing. Right. And if we could develop that creative, that design thinking, that creative process, and take it like as teachers, as adults teaching our children, the fact that teachers don't take this, I'm not saying all teachers, we'll say the system doesn't take it as serious, it's like, it makes me nauseous. I feel really passionate about
it. I'm glad that you said system, because the teachers I do talk to get it.
Yes.
For the most part. And that's the thing that's so frustrating. It doesn't make any sense. It doesn't. It's very see, when you're, especially when you're talking about the mind. This is okay. Sorry, I'm going all over the place.
No, it's great.
The mindset is wrong in terms of, if we think, okay, if creativity is important as it is and is valuable as it is, and we see that even in terms of, okay, governance, okay, politics, the greatest speeches ever told, right, by Kennedy is what we think of, or like Kennedy or Martin Luther King, or these great men that told these great speeches that really shifted an entire society and led them in a certain direction. It put us into space, these words that came out of their mouths. Where do they think those words came from? Where do they think that caused the goosebumps on your arms when you hear people say things that moves you so much that you decide to take a step forward? Yeah. There's something there that's going on that all of us know, all of us understand, all of us feel, and we don't give it credit for anything. We don't give it credit for what it should be. Creativity is something that we think is a magic, like that it comes from on high and hits us on the head, but it's all inside of us.
That's right.
This is the thing that nobody gets. We carry it around inside of us. And this is the thing that gets me real quick, is the kids, the young people are masters at this. Oh, they are the best at this. I have a neighbor, a fantastic family that lives next to me. I love them, like, very much. 4-year-old kid that they've got, little boy there. And he calls me Ox because he had a trouble saying Alex when he was younger, so he calls me Ox, and it's stuck. Now I'm Ox every day. He calls me Ox. Watching him do anything, in the mindset of this is someone that is not cynical. He's not afraid. He is exploring the earth and he's learning as he goes. When's the last time as an adult you approached a project with that kind of courage, with that kind of, open-mindedness, without being jaded with all of your failures and the influences and worry of judgment of everybody around you? Imagine if we could go forward on projects with that kind of courage.
Oh my gosh.
It would be unbelievable. We would be unstoppable no matter what it is we wanted to do. And we don't give kids the credit. But go ahead. Sorry.
Oh my gosh. Well, it popped like three things, which is one is like, that's my point right there. Is like, we have creativity is at the core of our kids. That is they're made up of the most raw, creative, like, right. And that's where I feel like, honestly, where I've tried to raise my kids from that point of like, it's my job to nurture that self-expression and that creative power in them.
Right.
And what if we approached education from that place versus a place of, well, you got to, and I get that there's tools that we need. I get it. But like, we also need creative thinking skills and problem solving skills, and developing within us, like seeing that beautiful innocence and development of that child, that his process is going to be maybe a little different than somebody else's, and like nurturing that. And I get there's, lots of world things happening right now.
Oh yeah.
Right. So the other piece that popped when you were saying that is that what keeps fascinating me is why, maybe not, the question isn't why, but I'm curious that why are we not taking some of a mixture of people from all sides, from everywhere, and having these, okay, let me back it up. Are
you trying to rebuild the school system?
I know, no, right. The whole thing, right.
Well, no, this is good. I like that.
Okay, so I'm going to say in 2001-ish, I got to be one of 6 Americans to go to Vancouver and be a part of, it was the ICOGRATA, and it's the International Council of Graphic Design Association. So it's the world umbrella, and we had like 30 people getting together from around the world. I got to sit next to the graphic designer for Nelson Mandela. Like, it was mind-boggling. Okay, I was one of 6 Americans in a room full of people around the world. Okay, it altered my heart, right? But we sat around talking about the state of design, and not until then did the U.S. Every other country was part of it except the U.S. So we talked about the state of design and where it needed to go, where it needed to grow, what was happening, the state of design. When are we sitting down with many different perspectives and really discussing the state? And again, I'm not saying like we have to go political here, because goodness knows that's all people are dealing with right now. But honestly, it's like, there's this side and there's that side, and I don't want, there's too far. We need to find this middle ground where people are listening and hearing and problem solving, because we're not problem solving as a whole, as a country.
Well, yeah, we're not. Well, you mentioned before giving permission to do things, and I think that we don't give ourselves permission to do. This is the thing about, I think, everything you're saying kind of brought me to a thought about COVID and what we're dealing with right now, and the struggles and the fears and the limitations we're feeling. I think that's a big thing. We feel limited, and that's a fallacy. That's wrong. We're not limited. We are adaptive. We are humans. And that's kind of our superpower too, is that we can adapt, and we're able to use our creativity to find new ways of doing things. So, this thing about, well, the kids have to be in a classroom together and they don't really learn unless there's this environment. Guess what? Our kids are smarter than we are. Our kids are able to adapt and connect things. They don't have data. the thing that they don't have is their IQ hasn't grown yet. Their IQ, we create IQ because we feed them information and data, and they remember it, and it's recall of data, which is analyzed by IQ, is how much you know. But their creative quotient, their CQ, is through the roof, and it diminishes as they get older. It gets weaker and weaker and weaker. This is science. This isn't like made up stuff. I've done the research.
There's tests that the creativity tests that they start losing it in first grade.
Right. And it starts going like this. Now, some of us struggle to keep that CQ at a childish level, which is, a lot of artists have said that is the key to art, is to think like a child, which is true. And the people that keep reaching for that whimsy and that kind of way of looking at the world with wonder, those are the ones that keep hold of that. And the belittling that we have towards that attitude is so wrong, because it's that kind of wonder that creates opportunities that we know. Yeah. And so there's a power in this that is being missed. And we become a nation that gives voices to flat earthers and people that are, and the thing about the flat is, see, I throw flat earth out there because it's a little pet peeve of mine.
Yeah.
The thing is, intelligent people believe the earth is flat right now. And the reason is, there's a reason. And I got this out of a Carl Sagan book I was reading just recently, is that they didn't have access to good data, but they had hunger for good data. And when you don't have access to correct, honest data, but you get data from other places like the internet or just, other things, that hunger needs satisfaction. And it gobbles that stuff up. And it doesn't know the difference. It's just gobbling it up, and it's taking it in as truth. So you get these intelligent people that don't have access, or haven't been given given value of this access. And this is a failure of the school system, and a failure of
society.
The trouble with having a free society also.
Yeah, right.
Which is freedom is fantastic and it's important. But the freedom is that if intellectually you're not pushing yourself, and you're not challenging yourself, and you're not putting yourself in uncomfortable situations to learn and start to you need some discipline. There needs to be some discipline there. And we need to kind of create that.
Structure promotes creative freedom. That has been my quote. I've used that quote all my career. Structure exactly promotes creative freedom.
Right. There is something about, freedom and go out and do. But the problem with this, and I've seen this in young artists, is when they just think, I just need to be free to express myself, they start thinking that their ideas are way better than they actually are. And they pat themselves on the back for having the right answer to the wrong question. And that's the part that really kind of kills me. It's like, yeah, you're good, but you're not as good as you think you are, but you could be. Don't think that you're this good. Try to, and I said the thing about humility before, but just shut up. You have to earn your ego.
Right?
Yeah.
Right.
You have to earn it. And so, and I think that's a problem. I think that there's something that is, when a kid starts a YouTube page and he thinks he's a genius and he's putting stuff out there, he's clearly intelligent.
Yeah.
Clearly, but there's a lot of stuff out there that he needs to.
But there's a lack of wisdom, yo.
Yeah, you have to learn. You have to keep. You can't. It really makes me crazy when people think that they can spend a weekend trying to figure out something. All of a sudden, they're an expert.
Right.
But
because honestly, I'm in my late 40s, and I feel like I'm just getting started, because because kind of I am, like there. All the bumps along the way, I feel like I'm just like, oh, okay, cool.
Well, you have to have you have to be smart enough to know that you're always learning something, but have the courage to try to just jump into things as well and fail. And that's failure is fantastic. I don't know. It's hard. I know it's like a balancing act. You need to be able to have the courage to fail, and the ego that tells you, it's okay if you fail. It's okay.
Yeah.
It's our lizard. It's our lizard brain thing.
Right. It's the ego. Here's the truth. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
I think. I careful what I'm saying.
You sound like me now. Yeah.
We're at a point where it's going to take us to be humble
Oh yeah.
and to not freak, excuse my language, but freak the fuck out,
Mhm.
and to stay in our seats and look and be open and to receive information, and without jumping to this harsh, oh, that's it. It's like, can we just see? Because I think that the powers that be, their control to keep the masses kind of is that we're just following this thing and it goes one way or another and it divides. But really our power, we have superpower called thinking
Mhm.
and connecting and being open. And it's fascinating to me that that we're jumping to such huge conclusions so quickly in so many different ways, and then not being open to, like, we're not going to have everything figured out tomorrow. It's going to take a minute, but if we're open and if we are allowed to, like, receive and understand. I'll just tell you, my son took government over the summer, and he told me, he goes, Mom, we really shouldn't have Republican or Democrat. Way back in the day, they knew that what's going on right now will be the demise of our democracy,
Right.
because people will go from one or the other and there'll be this massive divide. And ultimately, was that set up as the master plan to what, who knows? There's so much, right? But I just won't fall for it. I refuse.
Mhm.
And I know a lot of very Republican people, and I know lots and lots and lots of Democrats. And, I just think that, and we spent all this time like, don't talk about politics. Don't talk. Well, the truth is, we do need to talk about it. We do need to understand each other.
Well,
That's the truth.
it's our system of problem solving is our politics, right? So we
That's
have
right.
problems, and that's the system that's supposed to fix them. I think forecasting is a big problem. I always talk about forecasting, and I'm sure you're going to agree with me here. But forecasting is, the way I describe it, is when we see a problem, we immediately, our nature is to imagine what the solution should look like, and then that affects our process in finding the solution. So
Yeah, it's the conversation. It's the what's possible when it's just like the designer and the business, and we'll say the CEO. Okay, like, these are very different perspectives, but when they come together and understand, okay, what are you trying to accomplish here? Okay, how can you help me here? What do you see here? It's like they figure each other out, and then there's this solution, and they move forward. It's
really cool when you watch it happen. That's what
sometimes, I mean, I think listening, I feel like my greatest tool is listening. That's it being, you can listen the greatness out of someone. I'm telling you, like, I am clear that has been, like, listening is a superpower. If you really listen to somebody, like, really, not the thoughts that are going on in your head about how you're going to answer, but, like, listen, like, there's magic there, Yeah.
That's the thing, is the hidden wisdom that people have that they don't even realize they have. There's things people say and they don't even understand or realize the impact
Right.
in what they said to a person. It might be the perfect thing they have to hear, and you don't know unless you sit and listen sometimes.
It's true.
Yeah.
So I had a very intense personal meltdown about 5.5 years ago. And and just recently I've had a lot of people say, you need to talk about this. And I'm starting to talk about this, and I'm
You're thinking about a podcast. This is the podcast.
Yeah, this is part of it. And it's going to be a mixture, because I have 24 or 5-ish years of being in this industry. But part of what I want to talk about is that I've seen and I've witnessed it from many clients. And then it happened to me where I had a massive, well, for me, it was a massive health issue. Like, it stopped me in my tracks, where I thought I just had this regular I tore my ACL, but it was really an old issue, and from when I was a teen that never got fully addressed. I went to go, it flared up. I went to go have surgery, and it snapped me into this, it's called CRPS or RSD, which is reflex sympathetic dystrophy. And what happens is, and again, this is super misunderstood and under-researched, where your body, so what happened to my body is it went into, it's like my nervous system broke. It went because of the stress of the injury. For some reason, something in my system, my nervous system, it flipped my fight or flight on permanent 10, to where my body started like, so my pain levels, instead of like going from 1 to 10, they were like at 45. And it wouldn't come down, and my leg wouldn't heal. And then they gave me I had to get a new knee, and I didn't need a new knee. And it was like, and then all of a sudden, when you're in that much pain for that long, your brain starts not working right. Yeah. So why I bring that up is many people are facing challenges in so many different ways. And I am telling you, I literally, I mean, I lost family members who just weren't either, they saw me that something was going on, but I'm not talking to them because they just thought, I don't know, that I dropped off the earth or something. And it was misunderstood is what I'm saying. It's like, I was in so much pain, I literally couldn't communicate. And so I stepped away from my business for a bit, and I focused completely on turning all of that energy, all of that coaching that I did for all these years, I put it on myself. And I have slowly, it has taken me 5.5 years to be able to sit here and talk to you and not be in horrific pain. And begin to heal my body. I mean, there's so many details to it. People have to look it up because it's very complicated and it's misunderstood. And so I feel like this call to bring this way of thinking to an issue that more and more people are facing. And there's so much to it. But my point is sometimes we have to stop, and all that information that we're pouring out on our clients and the people around us, we've got to put it on ourselves. Yeah. We've got to stop. And that's what I had to do, is I had to stop and take the design thinking process and slowly turn it around onto myself. And it's why I'm sitting here. It's how I'm sitting here, is that I stopped and reconfigured my life, my well-being, my everything. And I stepped away from the doctors that kept making me worse. So I had to trust myself, and I had to follow my own instincts in a way that scared the crap out of me, that was unpredictable, but it shifted everything. And now here I am able to talk about it. So, and again, I feel like for the people who are listening, I know that's very vague and it's maybe not totally clear, but I think, well, my bottom line is that when we're running our own businesses, when we're pursuing careers that are laced with passion and we have a severe road bump, it's not over. We don't have to give up, because at first that's how it felt. It felt like, oh, I'm screwed. Everything felt like it got pulled out from underneath me, and I had no clue how to deal with it. And then slowly I rebuilt myself, and it really took my own medicine. All that I had been teaching and talking about all these years, I had to stop and apply it to myself. And that's okay. It's like that made all the difference. So we're going to face challenges, right? Yeah. We're facing these challenges.
That's a very impressive story. That's another rewind moment, by the way. You guys got to go back and listen to that again. That's the thing, is it's funny because you definitely over the years and over your career and your lifetime have already developed the skills necessary to help yourself through the situation. And, heal oneself is it's kind of the key. It's if there's anything that's important in life, is to be the kind of person that kind of really is able to be self-aware. And instead of feeling sorry for yourself, and instead of being angry at the situation, you're like, what am I going to do with this? And then just go at it with the skill set that you clearly have and maximize that skill set, which is a problem solving skill set. And I think that it's kind of, it's brilliant. It's a brilliant, it's fascinating story. And it's such a great idea for you to be sharing it on a podcast. I'm definitely going to pay attention to that and check that out. And that is a huge lesson,
I see life totally different.
Yeah. And just not being satisfied with things, not you should never be satisfied. We all have the skill, and I think that's I don't know if there's a more important skill than a problem solving. I don't
either. I mean, that was my key thing with my son's previous school. I was like, do you get that it's not about art? Mm-hmm. Yes, that's great. But do you get that there's a thinking process that gets them to a solution that if we build that in a particular way that they have freedom, that it's not a math equation, which I get that there's creativity in many different areas of school. Okay. But to be able to develop the solution, or come up with the solution that they've utilized their own inner dialogue, skill, guess, that they play with this dynamic, and then something happens. That's I mean, come on.
Right.
And that's what you did. Like, I totally admire that. I did something similar, but it was over a longer period of time where I was like, I was seeing people be in wheelchairs, like severe things happening to people. And, when my whole leg was on fire, like somebody was holding a match to it for like a few years, it was no joke. And I had to slow, even now. My biggest thing that I think I've learned is that I have been a single parent, a solo parent, since my son was 3. I have run a business since I was in my early 20s. I knew how to put the gas pedal down. Okay. I knew how to go. And then I went through a divorce and my gas pedal went harder. And then all of a sudden I had this inner system that was pushing the gas pedal, but not letting up. And I've had to learn how to, I don't put my foot on the gas pedal like that anymore, because it causes and creates a system that doesn't work in our world. It causes massive meltdowns. And so I've had to learn an inner dialogue, an inner presence, an inner state that I have to keep at all times. And I work very hard to do that now.
And those are that way of thinking, I think, is important, because, and I think that it's important for younger artists to think in terms of that also.
Totally.
And,
totally. If I could just say something about the kids, I'll never forget one of my a dear mentor. It was my best friend from high school and junior high. Her father played he was a coach and consultant, and I just admired him. And he years ago said this to me, and it has always stuck with me. And it's been like my check-in of like, is life okay? And he would always say, if your kids are okay, you're okay. If your kids aren't okay, you're not okay. Mm-hmm. And that may sound, but even in our world today, are our kids okay? Because if our kids aren't okay, then we sure the fuck out here are not okay. Yeah. We're not. Yes. And you know what? That is our marker.
That is true. I think I agree with that 1,000%. I think that's a fantastic way for us to close, because this is one of my longer ones.
Oh, shoot.
No, it's fine. It's fine. It's great. I was told, try to keep it around 20 minutes. Now we're like way past that. Oops. But regardless, what do they know? Who cares? But I love the conversation. I love the fact that you're going to be doing a podcast, and I'm so glad we finally got to chat.
Me too.
What a great chat.
I know. I love keeping an eye on what you're doing. I
Oh, I
do.
appreciate
It
that.
just,
Same here.
it's, the energy is freaking rad.
Yeah.
You always put it out there and such a like, uplifting and yeah.
I appreciate that. Thank you very much. And same to you. I
Thanks.
appreciate that very much. And I love that we learned some neat things about each other. And I think that
Yeah.
hopefully somebody's going to hear this and be motivated in some way, shape, or form to get off their butt and accomplish something important. I think that would be
That's
great.
right.
Yeah.
That's right.
And
Have
anyway,
the courage, right?
right. Have the courage to go ahead and do it. So let's do this again sometime. You just let
Yeah,
me
I'd
know.
love to.
And if you ever need help with anything, you let me know as well.
Oh, thanks.